Welcome to Broke Horse Moms, the podcast for all of us who thought our kids riding horses was just a phase. Turns out it wasn't, and honestly, I am so glad we were wrong. I'm your host, Angie Trueblood, the OG Broke Horse Mom, and I'm here to laugh, learn, and figure out this wild, wonderful sport right alongside you. Let's giddy up, friends. Well, hello, mamas, and welcome to another episode of Broke Horse Moms. I'm really excited to have my guest, Jennifer Connor, on with us today to discuss all things horse show apparel. Now, Jennifer is a third-generation horsewoman, co-founder of Riders Rent, which is an insane rental marketplace for riders by riders, and she's co-host of the Equestrian B2B podcast. She was raised on her family's farm in central New York, grew up immersed in standardbred training and racing, and later competed in the University of South Carolina's varsity equestrian team, earning reserve champion at the 1999 IHSA Nationals. Jen has spent over a decade managing breeding and bloodstock at blue chip farms, working with top horses, and today serves as equine territory manager for New England and New York at Decra Veterinary Products. So welcome to the show, Jen. So happy to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I love podcasting. This is great.
So I actually discovered Riders Rent from a friend who knows your co-founder, Chelsea.
Yep.
She sent it to me through Facebook, like, Angie, I think you should check this out. It looks really cool. So I love the business that you all have started. And I thought bringing you on really to talk about horse show apparel could be really helpful for our listeners because it's super overwhelming when moms get into this space. I guess you remember that from growing up.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, my mom worked at a tack shop, I think, just so that she could put us in good riding clothes.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, years ago, there probably wasn't like the Facebook marketplace and all the different Facebook groups that you can buy apparel on.
No. And actually, when I was very little, because I've been riding my whole life, I went into New York City and got my first pair of paddock boots. And my grandfather was from England, and he brought my first pair of jodhpurs over from England.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can we talk about okay, let's start talking about the pants situation for horse shows.
Yeah.
Because when Chloe got into it, she was 11 or 12. So she was right at that cutoff between jodhpurs and breeches.
Yeah.
So just explain to our listeners who maybe haven't shown before or who still have questions, what is the difference between those types of pants? Because to me, I'm like, oh, there's just like one's a pair of stirrup pants and the other is not, but I'm sure there's more to it.
Yeah, so really, breeches are designed to go under tall boots. And so they're kind of skinny legged.
Mhm.
And now they're changing the bottoms of them. Back when I first started wearing them, they had Velcro. And some people prefer that so that you can change the size due to your calf size. But now they're going to like the boot sock bottom where it's stretchy. So it should go over everybody's leg. But I don't think that's always the case. And I know that there's a big controversy going on right now with Tailored Sportsman about them changing to all boot sock and getting rid of that tab that has the Velcro on it.
Okay, so I have questions. So
Yeah.
Chloe just got her first pair. So for anyone listening that doesn't know, Tailored Sportsman is a brand, a very nice brand
Yes.
of breeches. And she had her first rated show. So we were like, okay, well, let's get a nice pair of breeches for that. I didn't realize that there was a tab on the back. What does the tab do? Explain that.
So it just it makes it so you can size better, right? So
Okay.
the Velcro holds it down so that you can put it into the tall boot better. And it's kind of on the side of it.
Okay.
But it's so that, if you have a little bit thicker calf towards the bottom, you can adjust it. It makes it
Okay.
much more adjustable than the sock bottom. But they're doing away with it because a lot of the European brands, they don't have the tab on it. They are all sock bottoms. And then for jodhpurs are, like you said, stirrup pants. They have the patch around the knee, same as breeches, but
Mhm.
they're designed to go down over paddock boots. So they're for short boots. And we use them in English riding. They also use jodhpurs in saddle seat because they don't wear tall boots in saddle seat. They wear paddock boots.
No matter
Uh,
the age?
yeah, no matter the age, it's part of their suit that they wear.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's made to go a little bit wider at the bottom to fit
Mhm.
over the top of a paddock boot.
Okay, this is good for moms to know because I have been with moms of younger kiddos that I always thought the stirrup went inside, like the way that we used to wear
Oh.
stirrup pants.
Yeah,
And we're like, oh no, they go under.
yeah,
So, moms who are new for the jodhpurs, the little stirrup piece at the bottom goes on the outside of the boot and under
yes.
it.
Yep, to
Okay.
hold it down. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So there's no riding up. Yeah.
And so, primarily, our listeners, I feel certain, are more in English disciplines. There's
Mhm.
some that do Western, which these conversations don't really
No.
apply.
Yeah.
But for hunter jumpers versus straight jumpers, there's also differences in the pants because Chloe got into showing jumpers, which it seemed like you just needed to have a pair of pants that your boots would fit over and you could kind of go from there. There wasn't like specific colors that she could or couldn't wear at local shows.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit of the difference between the hunter versions of pants versus jumper versions of pants?
Yeah, so the jumper ring is a little more blingy
Yeah.
and, you can have a little more exciting. Also, there's classics in the jumper ring and those really require you to have white pants on. And so in the jumper ring, you can wear tan in, everyday classes, but once you go into the rated classics, like especially on Sundays, and you'll see like in the Olympics, a lot of those guys wear white pants
Is
for
hunter
showing.
pretty much always tan or do they sometimes wear white as well?
No, they pretty much wear
Tan.
tan all the time.
Okay.
I mean, every once in a while, I see the kids who are in the jumper ring and in the hunter ring wearing their white breeches, like in a derby or,
Yeah.
for their class because they don't have time to change in between the
Yeah.
classes. And they're going to probably be whatever the most formal look is for the other
Okay.
classes.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not a huge faux pas. There's a lot of kids, especially at the rated shows and the higher levels that are, they're riding in a jumper class or some kind of equitation, and then they're moving to
Hopping
do their
over.
pony hunter and they're wearing their white pants.
Yeah, it was really interesting at the rated show. You could tell just how some people rode in the jumper ring. You could tell, like, oh, they seem more actually like a hunter than
Yeah.
a jumper. There's just so much difference between the two.
Yeah.
But Chloe was able to get those white breeches, and they look so pretty on her. They're gorgeous.
I know. But as
I
an adult amateur, I'm like, "Oh, it's the bane of my existence, white pants."
Well, it was funny because the show, I mean, it was Wednesday through Saturday, and my mother-in-law gifted the pants to her, and she was
Aw,
like, "Don't you need a second pair?" And I'm like, "No, these things." I mean, the tailored sportsman's, I think they were $180.
yeah.
I mean, it was bananas. And I was like, "I'll take my stain stick. We are in an Airbnb. We will wash if we need to wash. Like, we
Yeah,
can do this, without it being like such an expense." So
yeah.
I think that's also the thing when we get into saving money that we can chat through.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? We're so lucky too now that we have this tech fabric for all of breeches, shirts, all of it. Because when I was a kid, it was wool coats and tailored sportsmen's, you could not wash in a washing machine. They had to be dry cleaned. Everything had to be dry
What?
cleaned. Yeah. And it was really a struggle because I had to have like multiple pairs of pants for the week and wasn't able to just throw them in the washer. And if for some reason you made a mistake and you threw them in the washer after they had been dry cleaned, they were pretty much ruined.
Yeah, I can
So,
imagine they would be like really stiff.
yeah,
I feel like the nicer breeches feel a little stiffer.
yeah, they're a little thicker.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I remember the first time we went to get show breeches for Chloe, we went to Dover up in Maryland,
Mhm.
and I don't know, we didn't look at the price tag. I just had no idea. And so she tried on this pair of pants and they were so cute. My mother-in-law, we were there, and then we looked at the price tag and the woman had helped us. She did not ask like, "Oh, what price range are you guys looking at?" And we looked at these show pants and they were like $180. And we're
Yeah.
like, ma'am, can you find us another option? Like, this is our first show. We're not doing
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's, like, important for people to realize that it's not really about the brand that you have to have. It's
mm-mm.
really the fit and making sure that, it's the kids are well fitted and it's, like, the appropriate look. It doesn't have to be a specific brand. Judges aren't
Yeah.
sitting there like, "Oh my god, they have Equifits on. Oh my god, they're wearing a Sam Shield helmet." No, they're like
Yeah.
they just want to see everybody, like, clean and appropriately tucked in and,
Yeah.
looking traditional.
I actually like that coming to a more hunter barn than we were at before. The coach really places an emphasis on showing up. Like, even in the jumper ring between classes, she's like, wipe her boots. Let's wipe under Phoebe's belly, which I think is great for the kids to see too, that you take pride in this. You put forth effort for both you and the horse, you know? So
Yeah.
she kind of instills a bit of tradition in the
That
jumper ring, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. I know I did a lot of pony club and 4-H and doing the rated shows as a kid, and that was really important, like, how you show up even for a lesson, that you're not in tank tops or sports bras and, you're actually wearing a nice collared polo shirt or a tailored sportsman shirt and it's tucked in and you have a belt, and
Yeah.
even in college, we weren't allowed to wear chaps at the barn. We had to ride in breeches and tall boots every time we rode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the coach felt that those others you weren't in your competition clothes. You needed to be comfortable in your competition clothes, so
Yeah.
we had to wear them every day.
It's like a dress rehearsal for
Yeah.
our poor dancers. Uh, so before we move past pants, the difference between breeches, when you can wear breeches versus when you can wear jodhpurs, it tends to be age, right? Like,
Yeah.
but that's not a hard and fast rule, right? Like, you could
No.
have a 10-year-old, if they had tall boots, they could wear breeches, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's not a hard and fast rule. It really kind of depends on what the trend is. When I was a kid, it was when you moved off of ponies, you could get
Hmm.
tall boots, and
Okay.
then there was a weird trend where, some trainers might have realized that putting a tall boot on a kid made their leg a little more still.
Hmm.
So, when I was a kid, I begged for tall boots. My mother was like, "Absolutely not until you get on a horse." Um, and then, but everybody else was wearing them because they were yeah, that was the trend. But now I see that it's really gone back to kids on ponies are mostly wearing jodhpurs
Yeah.
and garters, the garter
Hmm.
straps that are on, the legs, and I've even seen some young kids showing horses in their jodhpurs and
Okay.
paddock boots. So
Nice.
it's not a steadfast rule. I mean, I think that once they move on to a horse, if they're in that, 12, 13 range, to put them in tall boots and
Okay.
breeches.
So let's talk then for like the younger kids or the kids on ponies. They would have the jodhpurs as the pants,
Yep,
the paddock boots, which are just kind of like the short little ankle boots,
yep.
and then the garters are they're leather straps, right?
Yes.
That go
They're
below their knees.
yes, they go below their knees.
What in God's
And
name are those for?
oh, I actually am, not 100% sure other than to be completely aggravating to everybody in the world.
I mean,
Be
was there ever a purpose for them?
I'm
There has
I'm
to have
sure
been.
I'm sure it is. I think it's probably, to, like to help cut the leg so you can look at it a certain way, or
Oh my
maybe they
gosh.
felt like that was a little extra, leather on leather to hold the leg still.
Oh,
But
I get that. Yeah.
yeah, but,
That's wild.
especially because there's, like, a specific way to put them on. I do know I've seen a couple of kids with, like, cheaters where, like, it's elastic on the inside and then you just wrap it around and clip
Oh,
it, which is, kinda like a clip-on tie or a fake tie,
yeah.
you know? Because putting those things on and getting kids to understand how to put them on, and because when you buckle it, the tab has to face the back. Yeah, so, like, the way it threads through itself and then comes around, and
Hmm.
all the kids hate them. All the kids
Oh,
hate them,
yeah.
and I have to say, I went to a show in Dublin, a few years ago, and I didn't see them on any kids, so I don't know.
The US, man,
Yeah.
the US.
We just have to make it difficult.
Exactly. You've got now breeches that have socks, different
Yeah.
materials underneath, but we want it to look good on the outside. And then for the older kids, we have the breeches and then typically tall boots. So that's a
Yes.
little simpler. What about half chaps? Because I do remember when Chloe started riding, and this was jumpers. So I think like before she got her tall boots, I think she would ride in jodhpurs and half chaps. Like, what are half
Yeah.
chaps for?
Half chaps kind of mimic a tall boot, and it's really to kind of keep your, pants from sliding around when you're
Okay.
riding, and I think that I've seen it a lot in, like, unrated shows that
Yeah.
people will wear that, and that's pretty acceptable, but I think
Okay.
once you step up to a rated show, you really need to invest in the tall boots. Yeah, and I mean, also half chaps have, like, come in and out of fad along with full chaps, because when I was a kid, it was a thing that everybody had full chaps on, and I have this pair of beautiful custom chaps that then I stopped wearing because everybody was wearing half chaps, and then I went as I got older, I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna wear cool breeches and my tall boots every day instead,"
Yeah.
and I still have my chaps, and I tried to put them on, like, 2 years ago and ride in them, and they fit, and it wasn't the fit, but I was like, "These things are rubbing my legs to pieces." Like, now I know why I
I'm
have
sure.
scars all on my knees. I was like, "Ah."
Like it wasn't a fall.
No, nope, those scars are from being rubbed at the corners where my knee bent for years in full chaps. So, yeah, I think that it's acceptable. I see a lot of kids, and I think that if you're starting out at the local shows, until you know whether your kid is actually gonna get into it or not, that half chaps are acceptable.
Perfect. Okay, so top half of the body, we've got
Yeah,
jackets for some disciplines, others you just need a collared shirt. Can you
yeah.
share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the jackets in hunter and equitation, they like them to be more on the conservative side. That's more like a black or a navy color. Sometimes a dark gray will be
Mhm.
okay. But in the jumper ring, you can be a lot more blingy. You can have maroon is a popular color right now. In the hunters, you can also have like a dark green. It's mostly darker
Okay.
colors, but I've seen in the jumper ring some really pretty light grays now, blue jackets, like light blue jackets. Um, and the bling in the hunter ring, some people are doing a little more bling. Some of, like, the brands like Sam Shield, they have, like, little, rhinestones on some of their logos and stuff, and as long as it's not, like, crazy in your face.
Sequined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You said like the dark gray,
Mhm,
sometimes that's okay.
mhm.
Where is that information to like know when it's okay versus when it's not? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Oh,
is
I
that
know, and
written somewhere?
it's not, and it's very funny because I have a friend who worked at Blue Chip with me for years, and she has a daughter. And her daughter totally got into horses because, while she was pregnant, I'd be like, "You're gonna love horses." And she was like, "I swear." She's like, "If this kid loves horses, you're gonna have to pay for it because"
Amazing.
and she says the same thing to me all the time. She was like, "Where are the rules about any of it? Like, where
Mhm.
is it written?" So, in, like, USEF, they do have places where it'll tell you, like, oh, a classic, you have to what the apparel should look like. But there's really not, like, any place for parents to see
Why?
other than asking your trainer or asking other parents, like,
Mhm.
what is acceptable, or, it's a good resource, people who work in tack shops. They
Yeah,
should know their stuff, and they should be able to tell you if you say, "Oh, my kid's going to be in the hunter jumper ring," they should be able to guide you. Although, I have to
they
say,
will. They'll
they
guide
w
you to the
and
$180 pair of
yeah,
breeches.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But also, sometimes when you have maybe a dad going in with the kid, they have no idea. I mean, I run into it all the time when they're like, you're like, "Oh, what's the horse's name?" And they're like, Mikey?" And I'm like, that's
Oh my god.
do you know your child's number?"
Yeah.
"Mm,
No.
nope."
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so I could
Um,
I could definitely see, like, it is, but you could maybe find some stuff in the rules in USEF that will tell you what's, available or not, but, that's like a deep
it's
dive.
super reaffirming,
Yeah,
Jen, thank you.
sorry.
This is literally why I created Broke Horse Moms,
Mhm.
because it is so confusing getting into it, and there's no one place to go. Like, even when we looked at shows, I'm like, first of all, the term prize list, I'm like, this is not at all what I thought a prize list would look like. Like, this is different.
Yep.
So I just feel like there needs to be a place because the trainers too, like, I mean, they're busy and also it's so second nature to them. They don't even know what we don't know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'll do the deep dive. I will take one for the team and figure this out. I promise.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so good because like I said, my friend, she is always like, "Wait, I mean, they're only asking me to go to a horse show a week ahead of time. Is there not a schedule ahead of like months in advance?" And I'm like, sometimes there is,
Yeah.
sometimes there's not." Like, yeah, you like maybe 6 months in advance, but like, you're not
And you're not going to
planning on
know at the time, like
no.
until the day of, really.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and she's like, "What is this?" You know, she's always asking me, and then I'm like, "Huh, I never even thought about that." Like, it's second nature to me, like you
Yeah.
said, you just
It's just so foreign, so
yeah,
foreign. Um, okay, so next, let's just talk about from hunters to jumpers. Again, jumpers don't really need to wear jackets unless it's like a classic at a more rated large
correct.
scale show. Our local show jumping association, they do have like a mini pre at
Oh,
the end of
cool.
the year, which is really fun because you braid the horses and
Yep.
you get all kind of gussied up for it, which is nice. But under the jackets, or if you're not wearing a jacket, let's talk about shirts for shows because there are some really like I like jumpers because you can kind of wear cool shirts
Yeah.
and there's just more variety, but I guess spill the beans a little bit on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, even in the jumpers, you can probably get away with wearing, like, a polo shirt if you want
Mhm.
to. You know, long sleeve typically. I mean, they do make short sleeve and sleeveless, but you really shouldn't wear a sleeveless shirt into the ring.
Yeah.
So we never wore them underneath our jackets just in case that they were jackets were waved, even in the hunter ring. That doesn't happen often, and a lot of times trainers are like, "Nope, even if it's waved, you gotta
Oh,
wear
yeah.
it."
Christine made Chloe wear the jacket at the jumper show. She's like, "I'm not going to a rated show without you in a jacket and the
Yeah.
horse braided."
Yep.
So,
So, yeah, typically a white shirt, some kind of white. I mean, they're making some really cool combinations now where your shirt is a different color and then underneath it it's um at the bottom maybe navy or it might be a color so that it looks like, you have like a bib on almost for the
oh,
white for
yeah.
the top part, but then the rest of the shirt can be colored.
Mhm.
Collars are varying a lot now, man. When I was a kid, you had a choker and you had it
Yeah.
monogrammed on it, and, that was super special, but if you lost it, then the shirt was no good anymore.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, they used to sell them with 2 collars on. So I really enjoyed now that they're either zip or there's, the magnets to close the collar and go over to
Mhm.
the side. I'm very appreciative of that. We've had a lot of European influence too in our shirts now coming over that are like zippers, and I've even some that are, more like a turtleneck style that has
Okay.
been acceptable. So, I like that our fabric is different now too because it's more breathable. I mean, but traditionally white underneath it, especially for like the classics.
Yeah.
And, hunter derbies are a whole other thing where you have to wear a stock tie with them.
Okay, what is a derby?
So the derby is kind of bringing back like hunting, like what it would be like in the hunt field. So the
Mhm.
jumps are more natural and it's a little more complicated. They want to see complicated turns. They want to see jumps that are made out of logs and
Mm.
wagon wheels and things that you might see if you're going cross country
Yeah.
to hunt with fox. So in those, you have to wear a shad belly, which is another kind of jacket,
I
which
saw
has
that on the Writers Rent website. Is
yeah.
that with tails kind
Yes,
of?
that's
Or
with tails,
okay.
yep. And they have points on it. Now there used to be a vest that you wore underneath it. Now they actually make them so that they're either zipper in or button in, like the little points at the bottom, so it looks
Okay.
like you're wearing a vest.
Got
And they used to be just yellow, but now people, use a little flair with that.
okay.
But you have to wear a stock tie. So it's a like this big long tie that gets tied up underneath you and folded down, and then there's a pin that holds it down. And, so you don't even see the shirt that's underneath it, honestly.
Right. Oh
It's
my
probably
gosh.
best to wear white underneath that, but it's a
Yeah.
very formal look.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so much to take in, but normally you
Yeah.
start in one discipline so you can kind of get comfortable there
Yeah.
and then move on as need be.
Yeah.
Um, Belts and gloves, those are just kind of whatever the rider wants, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't tip it. You can see them in jumpers if you're not wearing a jacket, but for
Yeah.
hunters, Chloe always had a belt, but it was covered up by the
Yeah.
jacket.
Yeah, but I think that, one of the things, and this goes back to, like, being in pony club, it was very important for us to wear belts because that was like a safety thing. Like if for something happened where your horse lost its bridle or you needed a stirrup leather, you could pull your belt off and use it. So I
Oh,
always wear a belt. I think that's pretty traditional. Not absolutely required, but I do think that a lot of people wear belts as tradition. And gloves, you know, it's really expected, especially in like equitation. Not as much in the
yeah.
jumpers, but in the hunters and equitation,
Yeah.
it's expected to have gloves on.
But the belts, there's a lot of elastic ones now too.
There
Like
are.
they've evolved, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what kind you wear, correct?
No. Yeah,
Okay.
anything. I mean, I wouldn't wear a big giant belt buckle.
I
So
mean,
like a Western belt buckle, that might get in the way of
yeah.
jumping some fences, but,
Oh, for sure.
you know, but yeah, I mean, there's all
Cool.
sorts of brands. People wear pretty much whatever they want, whatever color they want. It used
Yeah.
to be just like a brown belt or a black belt, but now people will wear purple, whatever.
Patterned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So when we take like all of this in, all of the apparel options, requirements, is there anything that you can think of that for moms who are just getting into the sport where you would recommend, like, hey, this is maybe a place to go ahead and spend the money, splurge on something new versus let's look at other options to where maybe you don't need to buy a new, as an example, show jacket. I would just
Yeah.
love your perspective on that
Yeah,
as we have
so
to prioritize.
yes, and here's one thing that I will say. I think the most important thing is fit, and I know that's hard because a lot of times I see it with my friends who have kids. You wanna buy something that they're going to grow into, and I don't think that that's the way to go unless it's like a sleeve that you've stitched up and you can let the sleeve out. But
Right.
fit is very important because obviously when you're judging, they wanna see your posture and you wanna have the neatest, best silhouette that you can when you're riding. So I think that buying secondhand, borrowing if you have to, but making sure that it has the correct fit is the most important thing. So I don't think it matters whether they're brand new clothes. I think it matters if they're clean clothes and they fit the kids well. So, all of it can be found in consignment shops. It can
Yeah.
be found, and same thing, like brands. Yes, there are very expensive brands. That doesn't mean they look any better than the less expensive brands. You could buy a very expensive brand and think that your kid's going to grow into it, and they're going to look terrible until they grow into it. And you would be better off buying some cheaper clothes that fit them well.
I appreciate that because I mean, I know locally we have one or two different consignment shops, and we bought Chloe a jacket a couple of years ago, and she can still wear it because she doesn't have to wear a jacket very often,
Mhm.
but it still looks nice and well fitted to her with no gaping. And for me, it's also the comfort of the kid. Like, you want them
Yeah.
to be in something that feels comfortable to where they're not thinking about their clothes. Like, they
Right.
are thinking about their ride and their horse.
Yeah.
So I think that's great advice. So let's talk a little bit about then where to find some of these show clothes. So we mentioned consignment shops.
Yes.
Are they pretty widespread? I mean, I know in our area in Richmond, Virginia, we have a couple, but
Mhm.
would you say, like, where you've traveled for work and for doing some of the judging and your riding, do you kind of find consignment shops in most places that have a good horse community?
In places that have a good horse community, yes, they usually have a decent consignment shop. And a lot of times the tack shops themselves will have consignment sections. And the other
Oh,
thing to
nice.
think about too is at the tack shops is looking in their back room for their sales. Clothes are changing, but in the equine industry, there are very few people who actually know what was a 22 model and what's a 25 model.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm not tracking that. And so you
Mm-mm.
can get some decent deals. I think that online. There's a lot of places like Facebook Marketplace has some people. I have had some decent luck on Poshmark. To be honest, this is a tailored sportsman shirt that I'm wearing, and I bought it off of Poshmark. It's barely
What?
used. Yeah. So sometimes I've found stuff on Poshmark. I have friends who have sold things on Poshmark.
Okay.
Um, and then one of my favorite things to do is, and it's probably going to change now if there's with tariffs, but I would cruise on some sites, some European sites.
Oh, yeah.
And usually I've gotten some really decent deals on some of those higher end brands like Equiline and Sam Shield.
I will say when you mentioned like the actual tack shops, I
Mhm.
do think it's important when your kid first starts riding. I mean, maybe not for their first or second show. You can maybe pull something together
Right.
from barn mates and stuff.
Yeah.
But once you know you're going to start buying, I think it's important to go to a tack shop and try on a lot of different
Yes.
brands because Chloe definitely has brands that fit her wonderfully. And now we can look for sales online or on Riders Rent or Poshmark and know like, oh, okay, she really likes the free ride, this type of pant in this size. When it goes on sale, we can get it
Yes.
because we've ordered things before that have come here that she's never tried the brand on and it just doesn't work for her and her body. So if
Yeah.
you have tack shops locally, like a Dover, which I feel
Yeah.
like is pretty much everywhere,
Everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, go there and try on the different brands and really get a feel for what your kiddo likes. And then, I mean, definitely support your local Dover and get something when you're there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
later you can shop their online site when they have sales and you have trainer rewards and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, and, it's funny because that's literally the reason one of the reasons behind starting Riders Rent and having the rentals was I kept buying clothes from Europe, and they'd come over, and they might be an Italian brand, and they're 2 different Italian brands, and they fit completely differently, and you're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
"Oh, what size am I?" And
Yeah.
so then I would have clothes that I can't return overseas, and so then we'd throw them on Poshmark or one of those places, and I was like, "Oh, this is silly." Like, some of the brands weren't available here in the US yet, or I like to go in and buy something when I'm there. There it's
Yeah.
also 3 times the price than what I'm getting from
Yeah.
shipping over from Europe.
Yeah.
So, I didn't wanna go and, try on a pair at a tack shop and then not buy it there. So, I kind of felt bad, but I was like, "Man, if I could rent this and the different sizes just for a weekend, I would know what my size was when I was looking at sales or
Yeah.
secondhand stuff and be able to know, and then I wouldn't have wasted so much money."
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you and Chelsea started Writer's Rent. Was it a conversation that you all had? Tell me about
Yeah.
that and then share with the listeners a little bit about what it is.
Yeah, so Chelsea and I met through my podcast, Equestrian B2B, and my networking group, Equestrian Businesswomen, and she came on my podcast because she developed an app. So she's the tech girl.
Okay.
And we just became fast friends and over a couple of years had discussions on like different problems in the horse industry and like what the solutions were. And so one of them was the clothing thing because I was going through it. Chelsea came from a family where she wants desperately to be a horse girl, but financially it just wasn't something that they wanted to prioritize. And so her first show, her grandmother like made her jacket for her to go and show in.
Oh my goodness.
So we were like, you know what? Show clothes, it's a thing. Like, this is an issue. So the initial idea was like a rent the runway type of thing. But I live
Mhm.
in New York and she lives in Indiana. And we were like, that's just like, where do you put a warehouse? You have to have people to run it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just too much and too much capital to get it started. So I came across a website called Pickle in New York
Okay.
City. And Pickle actually does high fashion. So they do like 1 day, 2 day rentals of like Louboutins and Chanel bags. And
Wow.
so for like overnight, in New York City, you can get it same day if you need it couriered. But they had a bunch of people put their clothes on and were renting out. And I was like, well, I mean, if people are putting that kind of clothing on a website to rent out, certainly there should be a
Mhm.
place for equestrians to do it. And there's really not. I mean, I think a few tack shops might actually, rent out shad bellies and stuff like that,
Okay.
but it's not really like a full revenue stream for them. And I was like, what if we created a platform so that we could connect equestrian closets across the whole country? So it's more of like an Airbnb or Turo than it is a Rent the Runway. And
Hmm.
what Riders Rent needs is for people to use it. So it's like the more people who use it, the more people will use it. So getting inventory up on there. And so also thinking about like, uh, as an adult amateur, a side hustle, or a mom who maybe has two kids that are riding and one's older than the other one and they don't necessarily want to get rid of the clothes that they have.
Yeah.
Maybe they can rent it out and make some money off of it and have some horse fund money. And now people are really into side hustles and they understand that and they like having that. And people are so used to the rental thing and Ubers and all these different things that I was like, now is the time and the time is ripe for it. So Chelsea and I were like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's buckle down. And we found some developers and we just launched a couple of weeks ago.
That's amazing. So we have a pair of pants to put on there already
Oh,
because before Chloe's first show, one of our barn folks had a pair of white breeches. I don't know the brand, but they still have the tags on them. They're very
oh,
nice breeches.
yeah.
And Chloe just didn't like the way that they fit her. And she was like, well, put them on that website you were telling me about. Put them on Writer's Rent. So we're going to do
Yeah.
that. And it actually makes me think, yeah, like we're going to have her tailored sportsman hanging in the closet for several months
Yep.
until her next rated show. Why not make a little bit of money off of them? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so,
Okay.
like, right now for me, I have a bunch of show clothes, and I'm not showing currently
Yeah.
because 'cause I'm working on Writer's Rent,
Yeah.
and I have some of my stuff up on there because it might as well be making me money. I don't wanna get rid of it because I know I'm gonna go back in the show ring at some point, or I might
Yeah.
have somebody call me up and say, "Hey, can you hop on a horse for me here or there?" And I might do it. So it's kind of nice to know that I don't have to just get rid of it, and I can put it on there, and then when I want it back, I can have it back.
So walk us through if we wanted to rent. So I'll go, I have the pants, and it's a step by step process, right? I'm sure I would
Yeah.
upload pictures. And do I set the pricing or do you all?
You do. So we're leaving it in your hands to do what you want. So there is a non-refundable deposit. I mean,
Okay.
sorry, I'm sorry, refundable deposit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's refundable. So you get to set what that refundable deposit is. Okay, and we will hold it until you tell us that that came back in good condition.
Okay. So
Um,
per person that rents your breeches, as an example, everyone puts a deposit down in the beginning.
Yes, in the beginning.
Okay.
And then, once they come back to you and they're in good condition and you give us the okay, we refund it. We put it right
Got
back
it.
into their account. So you can determine that. You can determine how you want it cared for. So I have some people who are very much like, I don't have time to clean this when it comes back. I want it to, be ready to go. And then I have people who are like, no, absolutely not. I want to know, I want to have control over the how clean it is. So I don't care if it comes in a ball, dirty, whatever. I want to be able to have it cleaned the way that
Okay.
I like to have it cleaned. So we leave that and you get to determine that. You get to
Nice.
determine the price and you get to determine how long you want it to be able to be rented for, whether that be a couple of days, whether it's day by day, whether it's a week rental, what the minimum, what the maximum is, you get to determine that as well.
Perfect.
And so then you're going to go on, somebody sees your breeches, I see your breeches, I'm like, "Oh, these look like something I want to try." So I go on, I pick the kind of shipping that I want it to come to me. And that's based on a program that we integrated into the system called Shippo. And so it's really what's available in your area, or the area that it's coming from. So it could be an express, it could be a 2 day, 3 day, it could be UPS, USPS, FedEx, whatever's available.
Mhm.
So I will say, okay, I'm going to get it in 3 day shipping and then I'll return it in 3 day shipping. And so that's all part of the price. And then you do the transaction and you pay it. And then once that transaction's happened and we've captured the money, you get a ping saying, "Hey, somebody's interested in your item." And you can now go and process it and generate the label. And then you
Okay.
generate the label right at your home and then you ship
Oh,
it out however that is, USPS, UPS, whatever it is. And you may be able to just pop it in your post
mailbox.
office
Mhm.
box, or with UPS, you could potentially schedule a pickup if you want to, or if there's a location nearby, you can drop it in a box for that too.
So smart. I love this. I can't wait to
Thanks.
try it out. So I'll have to document it when we do it.
And like I said, more people that use it, the more people that use it, right? So the more
Yeah.
people who put stuff on, the more is going to be available for other people. And we're creating a community with
Hmm.
this. We're really trying to bring the equine community across the country together. And one other thing that I feel like would be helpful too is I'd love for tack shops to think about this as like maybe a potential revenue source for them, where instead of putting something for 30% off in their back room, maybe they rent it out a few times and then they can sell it.
Yeah.
Or, maybe somebody comes along and tries it and says, "Oh, I really like the way this fits and now I want to buy it from you."
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that's really
even
smart.
in my crazy idea, I'm like, "Ooh, you know how Kohl's paired with Amazon for their returns?" I'm like, "Wouldn't
Yeah.
it be great if we could expand to a point where you can return your jacket to that place and they'll ship it out for you, but also brings more customers into that tack shop as well." So we'll see where it goes.
This is so exciting. Anyone that starts a side hustle in the horse industry, especially at a stage where where we are, we see what's happening with the shows.
Mhm.
To me, the apparel is the first thing to tackle
Yeah.
because it is often a barrier to accessibility. I mean, take away the cost of shows, the cost of trainers, but then, if you bought a whole outfit brand new, it can be a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I love the idea that it's just making a lot of these even brands that might feel inaccessible to some folks something that they can use and they can feel really confident in.
Yeah, I know I've had a lot of my friends who have kids say, "You know what? The Charles Anaconda jackets that everybody loves and they're so expensive would be great for them to be able to rent for like pony finals." Like they would love to be able to give their child that experience at pony finals by giving them a nice jacket to wear and kind
Yeah.
of the look that everybody else has with the
Oh my goodness.
piping and
Oh goodness, Jennifer. What are we getting ourselves into?
I know, I know. I'm like, we need to get some extra money so I can get some more coats to put on." I'm like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
see such a business with this." I
You're like, "Does it make sense to buy a new Charles Ancona?" Is that how
Yeah,
it's pronounced?
yeah.
Just so that I can rent it.
Right, exactly.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe if it
It
rents
might.
well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. All right. Well, we have a special segment. We're going to do our trainer truth bombs,
Oh, boy.
which is trainers that have shared with me just some of their thoughts that they would like me to politely communicate to our audience of mothers. The one that I have today, it's actually focused around canceling lessons last minute.
Oh,
And the trainer just wanted to communicate that because a lot of trainers have challenges when you want to cancel a lesson last minute. And so this trainer wanted to share why trainers get frustrated when lessons get canceled last minute. And so this person shared that lessons involve a lot of things for the trainer. Obviously, it's their time, but typically they schedule their entire day around these lessons, whether it is planning on, okay, if this lesson starts at 4:30 p.m., but I know the farrier is coming that day, then I need the farrier to come sooner so that I can hold the horses, but then still be available at that lesson time. It also involves what the trainer can do throughout the day. So, as an example, like our trainer, we talked about breaks ponies and rides typically on any given day, 2 to 4 ponies.
mhm.
And so, if it were her, she'd have to plan her riding time around being free for these lessons and planning how to take care of the horses throughout the day, knowing that she's out of pocket, as an example, for lessons at night. Another thing this trainer shared was, you kind of pick and choose like which lesson horses are going to be ridden. And you think, well, they're going to be ridden on Wednesday at this lesson. So then I don't need to ride them Wednesday during the day. It just involves a lot of moving pieces. And so I think coming into the sport as a mom that doesn't know a lot, you think, well, okay, but if my kid's got a lot of homework and we don't have time to come out to the lesson, does it really impact the trainer's day? And this trainer was pointing out that it involves so much more than just that 1 hour of lesson time. So I'd love your
Yeah.
thoughts on that because
Oh,
you've
yeah.
coached before too,
I
correct?
have, yeah,
Yeah.
and I coached an IEA team, and, I mean, I haven't done it in 10 years because I wanted my amateur status back. But, yeah, it was very frustrating because, yes, you have to plan, and if that lesson horse doesn't get ridden that day, then I might have to do the riding instead, and I might not have time to do that because riding involves tacking up and cooling out. So, yes, it's very frustrating as a trainer to have last minute cancellations. And also financially, we make money lesson to lesson, right? And so
Hmm.
if you cancel, that's also
Yeah.
finances that I don't have that week,
Yeah.
that I was expecting that I was really looking to have in my pockets, which could pay for the farrier for the horse. I
Hmm.
mean, it's what makes the business run. And I think that is something that's super frustrating in the equestrian world, because a lot of times we don't have the policies, and I think people have started making policies around it, more similar to like gymnastics and golf and certain other sports. But I always felt like riding was the sport that everybody could be like, we're not going to go today.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, but this involves so much more than a stick and a ball. Like this is like so much for it to
Hmm.
just be like, nah, we're not gonna go. I mean, I get if kids are sick. I mean, I
Yeah,
would
for
cancel if
sure.
I was sick, right? But like,
Yeah.
as far as being like that, no, it's just not gonna be in our schedule today. You're like, okay. How
Yeah.
about commitment?
Well, and I have seen barns put policies in place, which I applaud as a
Yeah,
fellow business owner, but just a woman that wants to see other women make money.
yeah,
Like, I want to see this profession be profitable for the people who are really the backbone of it, which a lot of times are the local lesson barns and the local trainers.
yeah.
So I'm proud to share that trainer truth bomb segment for
Yes,
our moms.
yes, for sure. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Jen, it was so good to have you on the show today and to get to know you and chat. Tell our listeners where they can either connect with you and Riders Rent, because you're in a lot of places.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, especially because even though I don't have kids, I think I still can add some value from
For sure.
perspective of being a coach and everything. So I appreciate you allowing me to come on and share that with everybody. You can find me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Jennifer Connor or J Connor 611. And then Riders Rent is ridersrent.com.
Mhm.
And we are on Facebook and on Instagram as well. And you'll see us
Perfect.
pushing out posts right now, trying to get some more people on. We have a few items on right now, and we hope to continue to grow. And we can't wait for somebody to make their first transaction so that we can get some good feedback on it. And if you're exploring the site, we'd love to hear, what you want to see, what you want to change. We already have a running list, and we're working with our developers to keep evolving and making it easier for everybody to use it.
So, moms, let's do our part and put some of our apparel that is maybe getting dusty on Riders Rent, and let's help each other out, because the more that's on there, the more that we can use it, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks.
Friend, thanks for listening to Broke Horse Moms, the podcast for all of us who swore this was just a phase. Want more? Head to brokehorsemoms.com and sign up for our virtual Barn Family newsletter. That's where I share behind the scenes extras, show season survival tips, gear recommendations, and horse mom life hacks. Basically, it's everything I wish someone had told me when Chloe first said she wanted to try horseback riding. I'll see you there.